Hi there, it's Daniel Sandler here. I'm the guy who created these, the watercolor liquid blushes. I've got bronzers, illuminators, satin finish, matte finish for you to choose from, but thank you for your purchase. I just wanted to give you a little bit of advice because if you're really new to these and you've not used them before, I want you to be able to get the very best out of it. So first off, once you've taken it out of the box, give it a really good shake because chances are the pigment and the solution has separated and you may think there's a lot of clear liquid and what's that at the bottom? Well, think of it as like you would a bottle of nail polish where pigment kind of settles and you've got to give it a shake. So after about a good 5-10 second shake, take off the cap and I want to show you what it looks like because it is very watery. It's called watercolor for a reason. It is watery, and the reason I called it watercolor was because it's wonderfully sheer once you pop it on skin. Now this is an illuminator shade of mine called Elegance, but you can see how lovely that is and how sheer, like a second skin it is. You can get brighter colors as well, and maybe you've got something a little bit more bolder like this, or even like this. Let me show you how to get the best out of them. So regardless of the technique that you like to use, if you like using fingers, fine. If you like using a sponge, fine. If you like using a brush, again, absolutely fine. But let's start with fingers. So after shaking the bottle, gently squeeze the bottle. If this is your first time, just put a little bit on the back of your hand, pick it up with your middle finger and tap it onto the area on your cheekbone where you want to apply it. If you feel that's not enough, go back, pop a little bit on the back of your hand. I say start off with using the back of your hand because if you put too much on your finger straight away, you may absolutely hate it and you'll think, oh God, what have I done? Why did I get this? So blend it slightly on the back of your hand to distribute it on your finger and then simply apply it. Now, I like using a finger like that because I'll get a nice rosy, soft, diffuse finish. If you like using a brush, what you're gonna get is a more, and I'm just squeezing a little bit onto my water brush here. If you like using a brush, you're going to get something with a bit more control. You're going to get something that gives you more a structured, contoured cheek, whether it be a blush, an illuminator or bronzer effect. So the finger, you can blend like that. The brush, if you go backwards and forwards, you can create a more angled, highlighted, bronzed, matte, shimmer, satin finish cheek, whatever you fancy. So there's the difference there. Now, if you want to use a sponge, no problem, especially if you like applying your foundation with a sponge. And in fact, if you use a medium or a full coverage foundation and you want to use watercolor, let's say this kind of color on top, not a problem. So slightly dampened sponge. A dry sponge will give you a more intense finish with cheek color. A little bit of water in the sponge will give you a more diffused effect. So I'm just putting a couple of drops just onto the tip of the sponge, and you see I'm going to work it like that. Now, if I had as I say, a medium to full coverage foundation, by tapping and popping the color on top, I would create a nice soft diffused cheek color that won't lift off the foundation. So again, use it on the other side. Let me just show you. A little bit squeezed on there, and here we go. Just a little bit more color. Now, if you find that you've used too much color, especially something bright like this, and you're fair skinned and you want a kind of a berry cheek, this shade is called Tease. You love a berry cheek, but you've used too much, don't worry. Just get the other side of the sponge that maybe had some foundation, and just go around the edge, or if there's too much color here on the center of the area where you've applied the color, just tone it down that way. Similarly, if you like using brushes to apply your foundation or the watercolor, pick up your foundation brush that's probably still got a little bit of foundation on it, and then sweep it over the blush to blend it back, pare down that color. The great thing about my watercolors is whatever shades you get, as long as you get 2 or 3 of them, you can mix them, you can match them. You can create your own bespoke shade. You can mix a little bit of this with a little bit of that. You can wear them on eyes, lips, and cheeks. So don't just think of them as cheek colors. Multi-use, space-saving. I thought of everything for you, and you don't need to powder them because they completely stay put because they're silicone based. So don't feel that you need to powder them to set them and lock them in place, because they don't. They won't block your pores. They won't enhance your pores either. They will sit really beautifully and wonderfully naturally. Use them on your eyelids either with a finger or a sponge or a brush, again, whichever technique you like. And they're fantastic on their own as a lip color. It's more like a lip stain. It doesn't look like a lipstick because it hasn't got that thickness of texture like a matte lipstick, but it does give a lovely sheer color that you can then line with pencil if you want, put a little bit of gloss on top, or if you find that your lipstick wears off quickly, put a little bit of watercolor with your fingers, just dab it on the lips first, and they will help give a really nice base to help keep your lipsticks in place for longer. The important thing about keeping the watercolor on your lips longer is that it's okay to put a little bit of lip prep, lip balm or Vaseline on them. Just don't put too much, because anything too greasy will stop the makeup sticking to your lip. I want your lips to feel hydrated, just not too greasy before you apply the watercolor on top. And there we go. Please let me know how you get on. I always love hearing stories about, you know, how the watercolor made you feel. I love to hear about the effect that you got, whether you mix the shades. I'm here, so just drop me a line, ask me a question. If you want any further shade advice, now you've got one color, perhaps you will want to consider getting a different shade to kind of mix with it or illuminate or bronze. Drop me a line. I'm always here. Always lovely to hear from you. Take care and thanks so much again. Bye.